Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Talk Parks with BerryDunn. My name is Becky Dunlap, and in this episode, we are continuing the conversation about strategic planning and why an organization might want to start thinking about it. Today, I'm talking with Ally Bujacich, who's the Executive Director at PenMet Parks. This district is in Gig Harbor, Washington, and Ally and the entire PenMet Parks team have been a great partner with BerryDunn. BerryDunn worked on their strategic plan and just finished up their master planning efforts as well, which they call their Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan. Both of those, by the way, if you're curious, can be found on their website, penmetparks.org. They're just doing awesome things. So I was so delighted to have Ally on the show to talk about their organization and why they decided on a strategic plan.
My name is Ally Bujacich. I am the Executive Director at PenMet Parks.
So, Ally, can you start us off by just giving listeners an understanding who PenMet Parks is, where you're located, and just help listeners understand a little bit more about who you are and what your district is like?
Definitely. So we are a metropolitan park district. We are located in Gig Harbor, Washington. Our boundaries, we are a little over 50 square miles. We're actually in an unincorporated part of our county. So we border the city of Gig Harbor, which has its own parks department. We also, on two other sides of us, have two other metropolitan park departments. As a community, we've seen a lot of growth and change over the last 20 years or so. As an organization, within our district boundaries, we have just under 40,000 people, have about 650 acres of parkland, 22 parks. We have just an amazing set of natural resources in our parks. It's quite stunning. So we have saltwater beaches and forests and open space and about 21 miles of trails altogether, dog parks, playgrounds, athletic fields, just a very diverse set of amenities. We also offer hundreds of recreational programs every year. Those are designed to serve everyone in our community, regardless of age or ability, and range truly from babies to seniors. As a metropolitan park district, we are very mission driven. We recognize we are people serving people through parks and recreation.
Thanks, Ally. I really appreciate you being here and just talking about your efforts towards strategic planning. So I would love to know a little bit more about if there's any circumstances or events that led you to decide on the timing to start the strategic planning process.
So PenMet Parks determined to embark on the strategic planning process in 2022. We were established as a district in 2004, so we're really a fairly young organization. So in a lot of ways, it made sense just for the stage we were at in our organizational development and maturity. At the same time, there's a lot of change in our community. There's population growth. We underwent a global pandemic. So the rate of change seems to be increasing. And for those reasons, it really made a lot of sense to take that opportunity. It felt like we were at sort of a crossroads, and we had the chance to be really strategic about the path we took forward. The district had not had a multi-year strategic plan since it was formed in 2004. As we grew and were growing and are growing as a district, we also felt it was really important that our staff, our stakeholders, our community had a really clear understanding of where the district was headed. So a very key objective of this strategic planning process was developing a vision statement for the district, really having a clear direction. We call it our North Star of where we're going as an organization. Because we were in this stage of growth, both just in terms of size of the organization, as well as the other changes and circumstances that I described, it really just made a lot of sense to be able to come together as a community, as an organization, as a group of stakeholders, and really map out where we wanted to go and how we wanted to get there.
So, Ally, once you knew it was time to do a strategic plan, what was your first step?
So at the start of the strategic planning process, the very first thing we did was internally develop what our desired outcomes were. We worked very closely with the Board of Park Commissioners to identify where we wanted to land in the end. So begin with the end in mind. Once we understood where we were headed and really started the planning process in earnest, we really wanted to focus on listening. So we conducted a significant amount of outreach, both internally with staff, with our board, with community stakeholders, as well as with the community and the public on a broad basis. That was a very heavy focus of this planning process. And it was very important to us that this plan, the strategic plan, is not the executive director's plan or the staff's plan. It is the community's plan. So that listening piece was a commitment we made early on before actually beginning the process and kept. And we had really great success and got some very valuable insights and feedback that really helped guide this process, but very specifically the vision of the park district.
In next week's episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about the vision and mission and how those were reaffirmed through this process and reimagined, actually. But I want to make sure that Barbara Heller had the chance to also weigh in on PenMet Parks and her perspective on, how she knew that they were going to be successful. And I think this is really telling around which planning efforts are successful in general and what it takes to get there.
I knew that they would be successful with doing a strategic plan because their board and the director, they were really bought into the notion of the importance of developing strategy. They were new to doing a strategic plan, so they were very eager to learn about the process and its importance. And since that strategic plan was developed, they've also done some additional plans. They did a park recreation open space plan that's close to completion currently, at recreation plan, and some other plans as well. So they've really gotten the planning under their belt and have learned a lot. But yeah, what really stood out to me, that is one of the most important ingredients to strategy, is top leadership commitment to the plan. There are some directors I'll work with that I feel as though they're merely checking off a box. They might be going after CAPRA and strategic plan as requirements and check. There are other agencies where I feel as though they're really going to be successful because the director is very vested in the process. And that was the case for PenMet.
I think what Barbara is saying here is so true, that when a leader, the director, it's really bought in and invested in the process, then everyone else around them start to understand why you're doing it and why it's going to be worth it. And Ally is a great example of that. We love working with clients like Ally and people who aren't just doing it to, check a box or because they have to as some sort of requirement, but rather because they truly understand the value and they're willing to put in the work as a partner to make the most out of it, because it is hard work. It is not something that if you're working with a consultant like BerryDunn, we're not able to do the work without you. Your input is critical, and there's no one that knows your organization better than you. And so by being fully invested, committing the time to it and the resources to it, you're going to end up with a better end result and ensure that what you're creating today is going to serve you for a long time into the future. Join us next week as we talk more about vision and mission. And then the following week, we're going to dive into values and how to operationalize those into your organization. All right, everybody, hope you have a great week. Take care of yourself. Share this episode with a colleague. We really appreciate it. And until next time, let's talk parks.